The Mahabharata Adi Parva. Section Klsksi. Svayamvara Parva. Vaisampayana said, then those tigers among men, those brothers, the 5 Pandavas, set out for Panchala to behold that country and Draupadi, and the festivities, in view of her marriage. And those tigers among men, those oppressors of all enemies, in going along with their mother, saw on the way numerous Brahmanas proceeding together. And those Brahmanas who were all Brahmacharis, beholding the Pandavas, O king, asked them, where are ye going to? Whence also are ye come? And Yudhishthira replied unto them, saying, Ye bulls among Brahmanas, know ye that we are uterine brothers proceeding together with our mother. We are coming even from Ekachakra. The Brahmanas then said, Go ye this very day to the abode of Drupada in the country of the Panchalas. A great Svayamvara takes place there, on which a large sum of money will be spent. We also are proceeding thither. Let us all go together. Extraordinary festivities will take place in Drupada's abode. The illustrious Yajanasena, otherwise called Drupada, had a daughter risen from the center of the sacrificial altar, of eyes like lotus petals and of faultless features. Endued with youth and intelligence, she is extremely beautiful. And the slender-waisted Draupadi, of every feature perfectly faultless, and whose body emitteth a fragrance like unto that of the blue lotus for 2 full miles around, is the sister of the strong-armed Drishtadhyumna, gifted with great prowess, the would-be slayer of Drona, who was born with natural mail and sword and bow and arrows from the blazing fire, himself like unto the second fire. And that daughter of Yajanasena will select a husband from among the invited princes. And we are repairing thither to behold her and the festivities on the occasion, like unto the festivities of heaven. And to that Svayamvara will come from various lands kings and princes, who are performers of sacrifices, in which the presents to the Brahmanas are large, who are devoted to study, are holy, illustrious, and of rigid vows, who are young and handsome, and who are mighty car warriors and accomplished in arms. Desirous of winning the hand of the maiden, those monarchs will all give away much wealth and kine and food and other articles of enjoyment. And taking all they will give away, and witnessing the Svayamvara, and enjoying the festivities, we shall go wheresoever we like. And there will also come unto that Svayamvara, from various countries, actors and bards singing the panegyrics of kings, and dancers, and reciters of Puranas, and heralds, and powerful athletes. And beholding all these sights, and taking what will be given away to illustrious ones, ye will return with us. Ye are all handsome and like unto the celestials. Beholding you, Krishna may, by chance, choose some one amongst you superior to the rest. This thy brother of mighty arms and handsome and endued with beauty also, engaged in athletic encounters, may, by chance, earn great wealth. On hearing these words of the Brahmanas, Yudhishthira replied, Yet, Brahmanas, we will all go with you to witness that maiden's Swayamvara, that excellent jubilee. Section Klsksi. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, thus addressed by the Brahmanas, the Pandavas, O Janamejaya, proceeded towards the country of the southern Panchalas, ruled over by the king Drupada. And on their way those heroes beheld the illustrious Dwaipayana, that muni of pure soul, and perfectly sinless. And duly saluting the Rishi, and saluted by him, after their conversation was over, commanded by him, they proceeded to Drupada's abode. And those mighty chariot fighters proceeded by slow stages, staying for some time within those beautiful woods and by fine lakes that they beheld along their way. Devoted to study, pure in their practices, amiable, and sweet-speeched, the Pandavas at last entered the country of the Panchalas. And beholding the capital, as also the fort, they took up their quarters in the house of a potter, adopting the Brahmanical profession, they began to lead an eleemosynary life. And no men recognized those heroes during their stay in Drupada's capital. Yajanasena always cherished the desire of bestowing his daughter on Kiriti, Arjuna, the son of Pandu. But he never spoke of it to anybody. And, O Janamejaya, the king of Panchala, thinking of Arjuna, caused a very stiff bow to be made that was incapable of being bent by any except Arjuna. Causing some machinery to be erected in the sky, the king set up a mark attached to that machinery. And Drupada said, "He that will string this bow and with these well-adorned arrows shoot the mark above the machine shall obtain my daughter." Vaisampayana continued, with these words King Drupada proclaimed the Svayamvara. On hearing of them, O Bharata, the kings of other lands came to his capital. And there came also many illustrious rishis desirous of beholding the Svayamvara. And there came also, O king, Duryodhana and the Kurus accompanied by Kama. There also came many superior Brahmanas from every country. And the monarchs who came there were all received with reverence by the illustrious Drupada. Desirous of beholding the Svayamvara, the citizens, roaring like the sea, all took their seats on the platforms that were erected around the amphitheatre. The monarch entered the grand amphitheatre by the northeastern gate. And the amphitheatre, which itself had been erected on an auspicious and level plain to the northeast of Drupada's capital, was surrounded by beautiful mansions. And it was enclosed on all sides with high walls and a moat, with arched doorways here and there. The vast amphitheatre was also shaded by a canopy of various colors. And resounding with the notes of thousands of trumpets, it was scented with black aloes and sprinkled all over with water mixed with sandal paste and decorated with garlands of flowers. It was surrounded with high mansions perfectly white and resembling the cloud-kissing peaks of Kailasa. The windows of those mansions were covered with networks of gold, the walls were set with diamonds and precious costly carpets and cloths. All those mansions, adorned with wreaths and garlands of flowers and rendered fragrant with excellent aloes, were all white and spotless, like unto the necks of swans. And the fragrance therefrom could be perceived from the distance of a yojana, 8 miles. And they were each furnished with 100 doors wide enough to admit a crowd of persons. They were adorned with costly beds and carpets, and beautified with various metals. They resembled the peaks of the Himavat. And in those 7-storied houses of various sizes dwelt the monarchs invited by Drupada, whose persons were adorned with every ornament and who were possessed with the desire of excelling one another. And the inhabitants of the city and the country, who had come to behold Krishna and taken their seats on the excellent platforms erected around, beheld seated within those mansions those lions among kings who were all endued with the energy of great souls. And those exalted sovereigns were all adorned with the fragrant paste of the black aloe. Of great liberality, they were all devoted to Brahma, and they protected their kingdoms against all foes. And for their own good deeds, they were loved by the whole world. The Pandavas, too, entering that amphitheatre, sat with the Brahmanas, and beheld the unequalled affluence of the king of the Panchalas. And that concourse of princes, Brahmanas, and others, looking gay at the performances of actors and dancers, large presents of every kind of wealth being constantly made, began to swell day by day. And it lasted, O king, several days, till on the 16th day, when it was at its full, the daughter of Drupada, O thou bull of the Bharata race, having washed herself clean entered the amphitheatre, richly attired and adorned with every ornament and bearing in her hand a dish of gold, whereon were the usual offerings of aragya, and a garland of flowers. Then the priest of the lunar race, a holy Brahmana conversant with all mantras, ignited the sacrificial fire and poured on it with due rites libations of clarified butter, and gratifying Agni by these libations, and making the Brahmanas utter the auspicious formula of benediction, stopped the musical instruments that were playing all around. And when that vast amphitheatre, O monarch, became perfectly still, Drishtadhyumna, possessed of a voice deep as the sound of the kettledrum or the clouds, taking hold of his sister's arm, stood in the midst of that concourse, and said, with a voice loud and deep as the roar of the clouds, these charming words of excellent import: Hear ye assembled kings, this is the bow, that is the mark, and these are the arrows. Shoot the mark through the orifice of the machine with these 5 sharpened arrows. Truly do I say that, possessed of lineage, beauty of persons, and strength, whoever achieveth this great feat shall obtain today this my sister, Krishna, for his wife. Having thus spoken unto the assembled monarchs, Drupada's son then addressed his sister, reciting unto her the names and lineages and achievements of those assembled lords of the earth. Section 8. Svayamvara Parva continued. Drishtadhyumna said, Duryodhana, Durvasaha, Durmukha and Dushpradharshana, Vivansati, Vikarna, Saha and Dasasana, Yuyutsu and Vayavga and Bhimavagarava, Yugrayudha, Valaki, Kanakeu and Virochana, Sukundala, Chitrasena, Suvracha and Kanakadwaja, Nandaka, and Vahusali, and Tuhunda, and Vakata, these, O sister, and many other mighty sons of Dhritarashtra, all heroes accompanied by Karna, have come for thy hand. Innumerable other illustrious monarchs, all bulls among Kshatriyas, have also come for thee. Sakuni, Savala, Vrizaka, and Vrihadvala, these sons of the king Gandhara, have also come. Foremost of all wielders of weapons, the illustrious Aswathaman and Bhoja, adorned with every ornament, have also come for thee. Vrihanta, Manimana, Dandadhara, Suhdeva, Jayatsna, Meghasandi, Virata with his 2 sons Sankha and Uttara, Vardhakshami, Syuzarma, Sanavandu, Suketu with his 2 sons Sunama and Suvracha, Suchitra, Sukumara, Vrika, Satyadhriti, Suryadwaja, Rakamana, Nila, Chitrayudha, Agsuman, Kakaitana, the mighty Srenaman, Chandrasena, the mighty son of Samudrasena, Jarasandha, Vidanda, and Danda, the father and son, Pandraka, Vasudev, Bhagadata, endued with great energy, Kalanga, Tamralipta, the king of Patana, the mighty Kar warrior Salya, the king of Madra, with his son, the heroic Rukmangata, Rukmarata, Somadatta of the Kuru race with his 3 sons. Almighty chariot fighters and heroes, viz., Buri, Borisrava, and Sala, Sudakshina, Kamboja of the Puru race, Vrihadvala, Sushana, Sivi, the son of Usanara, Pacharanihanta, the king of Karusha, Sankarshana, Valadeva, Vasudev, Krishna, the mighty son of Rukmini, Samba, Charudeshna, the son of Pradyumna with Gada, Akrura, Satyaki, the high-souled Uddhava, Kritavarman, the son of Hridika, Prithu, Viprithu, Viduratha, Kanka, Sanka with Gavshana, Asavaha, Anirudh, Samaka, Saramijaya, the heroic Vatapi Yahilipandarika, the powerful Usanara, all these of the Vrishni race, Bhagarata, Vrihatkshatra, Jayadratha the son of Sindhu, Vrihadratha, Valhika, the mighty charioteers Rateu, Ulaka, Kaitava, Chitrangada and Suvanjata, the highly intelligent Vatsraja, the king of Kosala, Sisupala and the powerful Jarasandha, these and many other great kings all Kshatriyas celebrated throughout the world have come, O blessed one, for thee. Endued with prowess, these will shoot the mark. And thou shalt choose him for thy husband who amongst these will shoot the mark. Section 6. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then those youthful princes adorned with earrings, vying with one another and each regarding himself accomplished in arms, and gifted with might, stood up brandishing their weapons, and intoxicated with pride of beauty, prowess, lineage, knowledge, wealth, and youth, they were like Himalayan elephants in the season of rut with crowns split from excess of temporal juice, and beholding each other with jealousy and influenced by the god of desire, they suddenly rose up from their royal seats, exclaiming Krishna shall be mine. And the Kshatriyas assembled in that amphitheater, each desirous of winning the daughter of Drupada, looked like the celestial, of old, standing round Uma, the daughter of the king of mountains, afflicted with the shafts of the god of the flowery bough and with hearts utterly lost in the contemplation of Krishna. Those princes descended into the amphitheater for winning the Punchala maiden and began to regard even their best friends with jealousy. And there came also the celestials on their cars, with the Rudras and the Adityas, the Vasus and the twin Aswins, the Svadas and all the Maridas, and Kavara with Yama walking ahead. And there came also the Daityas and the Suparnas, the great Nagas and the celestial Rishis, the Goyakas and the Charanas and Visvavasu and Narada and Parvata, and the principal Gandharvas with Apsaras, and Halayudha, Valadeva, and Janardana, Krishna, and the chief of the Vrishni and Haka and Yadva tribes who obeyed the leadership of Krishna were also there, viewing the scene, and beholding those elephants in Rut the 5 Pandavas, attracted towards Draupadi like mighty elephants towards a lake overgrown with lotuses, or like fire covered with ashes. Krishna the foremost of Yadu heroes began to reflect. And he said unto Rama, Valadeva, that is Yudhishthira, that is Bhima with Jishnu, Arjuna. And those are the twin heroes. And Rama surveying them slowly cast a glance of satisfaction at Krishna, biting their nether lips in wrath. The other heroes, their sons and grandsons of kings, with their eyes and hearts and thoughts set on Krishna, looked with expanded eyes on Draupadi alone without noticing the Pandavas. And the sons of Parita also, of mighty arms, and the illustrious twin heroes, beholding Draupadi, were all likewise struck by the shafts of Kama, and crowded with celestial Rishis and Gandharvas and Suparnas and Nagas and Asuras and Siddhas, and filled with celestial perfumes and scattered over with celestial flowers, and resounding with the kettle drum and the deep hum of infinite voices, and echoing with the softer music of the flute, the veena and the tabor. The cars of the celestials could scarcely find a passage through the firmament. Then those princes Karna, Duryodhana, Silwa, Salya, Aswathaman, Krutha, Sunita, Vakra, the ruler of Kalinga and Bunga, Pandya, Pandra, the ruler of Videha, the chief of the Yavnas, and many other sons and grandsons of kings sovereigns of territories with eyes like lotus petals one after another began to exhibit prowess for winning that maiden of unrivaled beauty, adorned with crowns, garlands, bracelets, and other ornaments, endued with mighty arms, possessed of prowess and vigor and bursting with strength and energy. Those princes could not, even in imagination, string that bow of extraordinary stiffness. And, some amongst those kings in exerting with swelling lips each, according to his strength, education, skill, and energy to string that bow, were tossed on the ground and lay perfectly motionless for some time. Their strength spent and their crowns and garlands loosened from their persons, they began to pant for breath, and their ambition of winning that fair maiden was cooled, tossed by that tough bow, and their garlands and bracelets and other ornaments disordered, they began to utter exclamations of woe. And that assemblage of monarchs, their hope of obtaining Krishna gone, looked sad and woeful. And beholding the plight of those monarchs, Karna, that foremost of all wielders of the bow, went to where the bow was, and quickly raising it strung it and placed the arrows on the string. And beholding the son of Surya, Karna of the Sudha tribe, like unto fire, or Soma, or Surya himself, resolved to shoot the mark, those foremost of bowmen, the sons of Panda, regarded the mark as already shot and brought down upon the ground. But seeing Karna, Draupadi loudly said, I will not select a Sudha for my lord. Then Karna, laughing in vexation and casting glance at the sun, threw aside the bow already drawn to a circle. Then when all those Kshatriyas gave up the task, the heroic king of the Chetas, mighty as Yama, Pluto, himself the illustrious and determined, Sisupala, the son of Damaosa, in endeavoring to string the bow, himself fell upon his knees on the ground. Then King Jarasandha, endued with great strength and powers, approaching the bow, stood there for some moment, fixed and motionless like a mountain. Tossed by the bow, he too fell upon his knees on the ground, and rising up, the monarch left the amphitheater for, returning to, his kingdom. Then the great hero Salya, the king of Madra, endued with great strength, in endeavoring to string the bow, fell upon his knees on the ground. At last, when in that assemblage consisting of highly respectable people, all the monarchs had become subjects of derisive talk, that foremost of heroes Jishnu, the son of Kunti, desired to string the bow and place the arrows on the bowstring. Section CLXL. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana continued. When all the monarchs had desisted from stringing that bow, the high-souled Jishnu arose from among the crowd of Brahmanas seated in that assembly. And beholding Parth possessing the complexion of Indra's banner, advancing towards the bow, the principal Brahmanas, shaking their deerskins, raised a loud clamour. And while some were displeased, there were others that were well pleased. And some there were, possessed of intelligence and foresight, who addressing one another, said, Ye Brahmanas, how can a Brahmana stripling, unpracticed in arms and weak in strength, string that bow which such celebrated Kshatriyas as Salya and others, endued with might and accomplished in the science and practice of arms, could not, if he doth not achieve success in this untried task which he hath undertaken from a spirit of boyish unsteadiness, the entire body of Brahmanas here will be rendered ridiculous in the eyes of the assembled monarchs. Therefore, forbid this Brahmana that he may not go to string the bow which he is even now desirous of doing, from vanity, childish daring, or mere unsteadiness. Others replied, We shall not be made ridiculous, nor shall we incur the disrespect of anybody or the displeasure of the sovereigns. Some remarked, This handsome youth is even like the trunk of a mighty elephant, whose shoulders and arms and thighs are so well built, who in patience looks like the Himavat, whose gait is even like that of the lion, and whose prowess seems to be like that of an elephant in rut, and who is so resolute, that it is probable that he will accomplish this feat. He has strength and resolution. If he had none, he would never go of his own accord. Besides, there is nothing in the three worlds that Brahmanas of all mortal men cannot accomplish. abstaining from all food, or living upon air or eating of fruits, persevering in their vows, and emaciated and weak, Brahmanas are ever strong in their own energy. 1. Should never disregard a Brahmana whether his acts be right or wrong, by supposing him incapable of achieving any task that is great or little, or that is fraught with bliss or woe. Rama the son of Jamadagna defeated in battle all the Kshatriyas. Agastya by his Brahma energy drank off the fathomless ocean. Therefore, say yet, let this youth bend the bow and string it with ease, and many said, so be it. And the Brahmanas continued speaking unto one another these and other words. Then Arjuna approached the bow and stood there like a mountain, and walking round that bow, and bending his head unto that giver of boons the Lord Isana, and remembering Krishna also, he took it up. And that bow which Rukma, Sunita, Vakra, Radha's son, Duryodhana, Salya, and many other kings accomplished in the science and practice of arms, could not even with great exertion string, Arjuna, the son of Indra, that foremost of all persons endued with energy and like unto the younger brother of Indra, Vishnu, in might, strung in the twinkling of an eye. And taking up the 5 arrows he shot the mark and caused it to fall down on the ground, through the hole in the machine above which it had been placed. Then there arose a loud uproar in the firmament, and the amphitheatre also resounded with a loud clamour. And the gods showered celestial flowers on the head of Parth the slayer of foes. And thousands of Brahmanas began to wave their upper garments in joy. And all around, the monarchs who had been unsuccessful, uttered exclamations of grief and despair. And flowers were rained from the skies all over the amphitheatre. And the musicians struck up in concert. Bards and heralds began to chant in sweet tones the praises of the hero who accomplished the feat. And beholding Arjuna, Drupada that slayer of foes was filled with joy. And the monarch desired to assist with his forces the hero if the occasion arose. And when the uproar was at its height, Yudhishthira, the foremost of all virtuous men, accompanied by those first of men the twins, hastily left the amphitheatre for returning to his temporary home. And Krishna, beholding the mark shot and beholding Parth also like unto Indra himself, who had shot the mark, was filled with joy, and approached the son of Kunti with a white robe and a garland of flowers. And Arjuna the accomplisher of inconceivable feats, having won Draupadi by his success in the amphitheatre, was saluted with reverence by all the Brahmanas. And he soon after left the lists followed close by her who thus became his wife. Section Klxley. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, when the king, Drupada, expressed his desire of bestowing his daughter on that Brahmana, who had shot the mark, all those monarchs who had been invited to the Svayamvara, looking at one another, were suddenly filled with wrath. And they said, passing us by, and treating the assembled monarchs as straw, this Drupada desire to bestow his daughter that first of women on a Brahmana. Having planted the tree he cutteth it down when it is about to bear fruit. The wretch regardeth us not, therefore let us slay him. He deserveth not our respect, nor the veneration due to age. Owing to such qualities of his, we shall therefore slay this wretch that insulteth all kings, along with his son. Inviting all the monarchs and entertaining them with excellent food, he disregardeth us at last. In this assemblage of monarchs like unto a conclave of the celestials, doth he not see a single monarch equal unto himself? The Vedic declaration is well known that the Svayamvara is for the Kshatriyas. The Brahmanas have no claim in respect of a selection of husband by a Kshatriya damsel. Or, ye kings, if this damsel desireth not to select any one of us as her lord, let us cast her into the fire and return to our kingdoms. As regards this Brahmana, although he hath, from officiousness or avarice, done this injury to the monarchs, he should not yet be slain, for our kingdoms, lives, treasures, sons, grandsons, and whatever other wealth we have, all exist for Brahmanas. Something must be done here, even unto him, so that from fear of disgrace and the desire of maintaining what properly belongeth unto each order, other Svayamvaras may not terminate in this way. Having addressed one another thus, those tigers among monarchs endued with arms like unto spiked iron maces, took up their weapons and rushed at Drupada to slay him then and there. And Drupada, beholding those monarchs all at once rushing towards him in anger with bows and arrows, sought, from fear, the protection of the Brahmanas. But those mighty bowmen, Bhima and Arjuna, of the Pandavas, capable of chastising all foes, advanced to oppose those monarchs rushing towards them impetuously, like elephants in the season of rut. Then the monarchs with gloved fingers and upraised weapons rushed in anger at the Kuru princes, Bhima and Arjuna, to slay them. Then the mighty Bhima of extraordinary achievements, endued with the strength of thunder, tore up like an elephant a large tree and divested it of its leaves. And with that tree, the strong-armed Bhima, the son of Parita, that grinder of foes, stood like unto the mace-bearing king of the dead, Yama, armed with his fierce mace, near Arjuna that bull amongst men. And beholding that feat of his brother, Jishnu of extraordinary intelligence, himself also of inconceivable feats, wondered much. And equal unto Indra himself in achievements, shaking off all fear he stood with his bow ready to receive those assailants. And beholding those feats of both Jishnu and his brother, Damodara, Krishna, of superhuman intelligence and inconceivable feats, addressing his brother, Halayudha, Valadeva, of fierce energy, said, that hero there, of tread like that of a mighty lion, who draweth the large bow in his hand 4 full cubits in length, is Arjuna. There is no doubt, O Sankarshana, about this, if I am Vasudev. That other hero, who having speedily torn up the tree hath suddenly become ready to drive off the monarchs, is Vrkodara. For no one in the world, except Vrkodara, could today perform such a feat in the field of battle. And that other youth of eyes like unto lotus petals, of full 4 cubits height, of gait like that of a mighty lion, and humble withal, of fair complexion and prominent and shining nose, who had, a little before, left the amphitheatre, is Dharma's son, Yudhishthira. The 2 other youths, like unto Kartikeya, are, I suspect, the sons of the twin Aswins. I heard that the sons of Pandu along with their mother Parita had all escaped from the conflagration of the house of Lak. Then Halayudha of complexion like unto that of clouds unchanged arged with rain, addressing his younger brother Krishna, said with great satisfaction, "Oh, I am happy to hear, as I do, from sheer good fortune, that our father's sister Parita with the foremost of the Kaurava princes have all escaped from death." Section Klxlai. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then those bulls among Brahmanas shaking their deerskins and water pots made of coconut shells exclaimed, "Fear not. We will fight the foe." Arjuna smilingly addressing those Brahmanas, exclaiming thus, said, "Stand ye aside as spectators of the fray. Showering hundreds of arrows furnished with straight points, even I shall check, like snakes with mantras, all those angry monarchs." Having said this, the mighty Arjuna taking up the bow he had obtained as dower, accompanied by his brother Bhima, stood immovable as a mountain. And, beholding those Kshatriyas who were ever furious in battle with Karna, ahead, the heroic brothers rushed fearlessly at them like two elephants rushing against a hostile elephant. Then those monarchs eager for the fight fiercely exclaimed, "The slaughter in battle of one desiring to fight is permitted." And saying this, the monarchs suddenly rushed against the Brahmanas. And Karna, endued with great energy, rushed against Jishnu for fight. And Salya, the mighty king of Madra, rushed against Bhima, like an elephant rushing against another for the sake of a she-elephant. In heat, while Duryodhana and others engaged with the Brahmanas, skirmished with them lightly and carelessly. Then the illustrious Arjuna, beholding Karna, the son of Vikartana, Surya, advancing towards him, drew his tough bow and pierced him with his sharp arrows. And the impetus of those whetted arrows, furnished with fierce energy, made Radhaya, Karna, faint. Recovering consciousness, Karna attacked Arjuna with greater care than before. Then Karna and Arjuna, both foremost of victorious warriors, desirous of vanquishing each other, fought madly on. And such was the lightness of hand they both displayed that, each enveloped by the other's shower of arrows, they both became invisible unto the spectators of their encounter. "Behold the strength of my arms, mark how I have counteracted that feat." Those were the words intelligible to heroes alone, in which they addressed each other. And incensed at finding the strength and energy of Arjuna's arms unequaled on the earth, Karna, the son of Surya, fought with greater vigor. And parrying all those impetuous arrows shot at him by Arjuna, Karna sent up a loud shout. And this feat of his was applauded by all the warriors. Then addressing his antagonist, Karna said, "O thou foremost of Brahmanas, I am gratified to observe the energy of thy arms that know it no relaxation in battle, and thy weapons themselves fit for achieving victory. Art thou the embodiment of the science of weapons, or art thou Rama, that best of Brahmanas, or Indra himself, or Indra's younger brother Vishnu, called also Achyuta, who, for disguising himself, hath assumed the form of a Brahmana, and mustering such energy of arms fighteth with me? No other person except the husband himself of Sachi or Kiriti, the son of Pandu, is capable of fighting with me when I am angry on the field of battle." Then hearing those words of his, Falguna replied, saying, "O Karna, I am neither the science of arms personified, nor Rama endued with superhuman powers. I am only a Brahmana, who is the foremost of all warriors and all wielders of weapons. By the grace of my preceptor I have become accomplished in the Brahma and the Purndara weapons. I am here to vanquish thee in battle. Therefore, O hero, wait a little." Vaisampayana continued, thus addressed, by Arjuna, Karna the adopted son of Radha desisted from the fight, for that mighty chariot fighter thought that Brahma energy is ever invincible. Meanwhile, on another part of the field, the mighty heroes Salya and Vrkodara, well skilled in battle and possessed of great strength and proficiency, challenging each other, engaged in fight like two elephants in rut. And they struck each other with their clenched fists and knees, and sometimes pushing each other forward, and sometimes dragging each other near, sometimes throwing each other down, face downward, and sometimes on the sides. They fought on, striking each other at times with their clenched fists, and encountering each other with blows hard as the clash of two masses of granite. The lists rang with the sounds of their combat. Fighting with each other thus for a few seconds, Bhima, the foremost of the Kuru heroes, taking up Salya on his arms hurled him to a distance. And Bhimasena, that bull amongst men, surprised all, by the dexterity of his feet, for though he threw Salya on the ground he did it without hurting him much. And when Salya was thus thrown down and Karna was struck with fear, the other monarchs were all alarmed. And they hastily surrounded Bhima and exclaimed, "Surely these bulls amongst Brahmanas are excellent warriors. Ascertain in what race they have been born and where they abide. Who can encounter Karna, the son of Radha, in fight, except Rama? Or Drona, or Kiriti, the son of Pandu? Who also can encounter Duryodhana in battle except Krishna, the son of Devki, and Kripa, the son of Saradwan? Who also can overthrow in battle Salya, that first of mighty warriors, except the hero Valadeva or Vrkodara, the son of Pandu, or the heroic Duryodhana? Let us, therefore, desist from this fight with the Brahmanas. Indeed, Brahmanas, however offending, should yet be ever protected. And first let us ascertain who these are, for after we have done that we may cheerfully fight with them." Vaisampayana continued, and Krishna, having beheld that feat of Bhima, believed them both to be the son of Kunti. And gently addressing the assembled monarchs, saying, "This maiden hath been justly acquired, by the Brahmana," he induced them to abandon the fight. Accomplished in battle, those monarchs then desisted from the fight. And those best of monarchs then returned to their respective kingdoms, wondering much. And those who had come there went away saying, "The festive scene hath terminated in the victory of the Brahmanas. The princess of Panchala hath become the bride of a Brahmana, and surrounded by Brahmanas dressed in skins of deer and other wild animals, Bhima and Dhananjaya passed with difficulty out of the throng. And those heroes among men, mangled by the enemy and followed by Krishna, on coming at last out of that throng, looked like the full moon and the sun emerging from the clouds. Meanwhile Kunti, seeing that her sons were late in returning from their eleemosynary round, was filled with anxiety. She began to think of various evils having overtaken her sons. At one time she thought that the sons of Dhritarashtra, having recognized her sons, had slain them. Next she feared that some cruel and strong Rakshasas endued with powers of deception had slain them. And she asked herself, could the illustrious Vyasa himself, who had directed my sons to come to Panchala, have been guided by perverse intelligence? Thus reflected Parita in consequence of her affection for her offspring. Then in the stillness of the late afternoon, Jishnu, accompanied by a body of Brahmanas, entered the abode of the potter, like the cloud-covered sun appearing on a cloudy day. Section Klxlayin. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, then those illustrious sons of Parita, on returning to the potter's abode, approached their mother. And those first of men represented Yajanasni unto their mother as the alms they had obtained that day. And Kunti, who was there within the room and saw not her sons, replied, saying, enjoy ye all, what ye have obtained. The moment after, she beheld Krishna, and then she said, oh, what have I said? And anxious from fear of sin, and reflecting how every one could be extricated from the situation, she took the cheerful Yajanasni by the hand, and approaching Yudhishthira said, the daughter of King Yajanasna, upon being represented to me by thy younger brothers as the alms they had obtained, from ignorance, O king, I said what was proper, viz., enjoy yet all what hath been obtained. O thou bull of the Kuru race, tell me how my speech may not become untrue, how sin may not touch the daughter of the king of Panchala, and how also she may not become uneasy. Vaisampayana continued, thus addressed by his mother, that hero among men, that foremost scion of the Kuru race, the intelligent king. Yudhishthira, reflecting for a moment, consoled Kunti, and addressing Dhananjaya, said, by thee, O Fulguna, hath Yajanas ni been won. It is proper, therefore, that thou shouldst wed her. O thou withstander of all foes, igniting the sacred fire, take thou her hand with due rights. Arjuna, hearing this, replied, O king, do not make me a participator in sin. Thy behest is not conformable to virtue. That is the path followed by the sinful. Thou shouldst wed first, then the strong-armed Bhima of inconceivable feats, then myself, then Nakula, and last of all, Sahadeva. Endued with great activity. Both Vrkodara and myself, and the twins and this maiden also, all await, O monarch, thy commands. When such is the state of things, do that, after reflection, which would be proper, and conformable virtue, and productive of fame, and beneficial unto the king of Panchala. All of us are obedient to thee. O, command us as thou likest. Vaisampayana continued, hearing these words of Jishnu, so full of respect and affection, the Pandavas all cast their eyes upon the princess of Panchala. And the princess of Panchala also looked at them all. And, casting their glances on the illustrious Krishna, those princes looked at one another. And taking their seats, they began to think of Draupadi alone. Indeed, after those princes of immeasurable energy had looked at Draupadi, the god of desire invaded their hearts and continued to crush all their senses. As the lavishing beauty of Panchali, who had been modeled by the Creator himself, was superior to that of all other women on earth, it could captivate the heart of every creature. And Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, beholding his younger brothers, understood what was passing in their minds. And that bull among men immediately recollected the words of Krishnadvapayana and the king. Then, from fear of a division amongst the brothers, addressing all of them, said, the auspicious Draupadi shall be the common wife of us all. Vaisampayana continued, the sons of Pandu, then, hearing those words of their eldest brother, began to revolve them in their minds in great cheerfulness. The hero of the Vrishni race, Krishna, suspecting the 5 persons he had seen at the Svayamvara to be none else than the heroes of the Kuru race, came accompanied by the son of Rohini, Valadeva, to the house of the potter where those foremost of men had taken up their quarters. On arriving there, Krishna and Valadeva beheld seated in that potter's house Ajatasanu, Yudhishthira, of well-developed and long arms, and his younger brothers passing the splendor of fire sitting around him. Then Vasudeva, approaching that foremost of virtuous men, the son of Kunti, and touching the feet of that prince of the Ajamata race, said, I am Krishna. And the son of Rohini, Valadeva, also approaching Yudhishthira, did the same. And the Pandavas, beholding Krishna and Valadeva, began to express great delight. And, O thou foremost of the Bharata race, those heroes of the Yadu race thereafter touched also the feet of Kunti, their father's sister. And Ajatasatru, that foremost of the Kuru race, beholding Krishna, inquired after his well-being and asked, How, O Vasudev, hast thou been able to trace us, as we are living in disguise? And Vasudev, smilingly answered, O king, fire, even if it is covered, can be known. Who else among men than the Pandavas could exhibit such might? Ye resistors of all foes, ye sons of Pandu, by Sheer good fortune have ya escaped from that fierce fire. And it is by sheer good fortune alone that the wicked son of Dhritarashtra and his counselors have not succeeded in accomplishing their wishes. Blessed be ye, and grow ye in prosperity like a fire in a cave, gradually growing and spreading itself all around. And lest any of the monarchs recognize yet, let us return to our tent. Then, obtaining Yudhishthira's leave, Krishna, of prosperity knowing no decrease, accompanied by Valadeva, hastily went away from the potter's abode. Section Kliksliv. Svayamvara Parva continued. Vaisampayana said, when the Kuru princes, Bhima and Arjuna, were wending towards the abode of the potter, Drishtadhyumna, the Panchala prince followed them. And sending away all his attendants, he concealed himself in some part of the potter's house, unknown to the Pandavas. Then Bhima, that grinder of all foes, and Jishnu and the illustrious twins, on returning from their eleemosynary round in the evening, cheerfully gave everything unto Yudhishthira. Then the kind-hearted Kunti addressing the daughter of Drupada said, O amiable one, take thou first a portion from this and devote it to the gods and give it away to Brahmanas, and feed those that desire to eat and give unto those who have become our guests. Divide the rest into 2 halves. Give one of these unto Bhima, O amiable one, for this strong youth of fair complexion equal unto a king. Of elephants this hero always eateth much. And divide the other half into 6 parts, 4 for these youths, 1 for myself, and 1 for thee. Then the princess, hearing those instructive words of her mother-in-law, cheerfully did all that she had been directed to do. And those heroes then all ate of the food prepared by Krishna. Then Sahadeva, the son of Madri, endued with great activity, spread on the ground a bed of kusa grass. Then those heroes, each spreading thereon his deer skin, laid themselves down to sleep. And those foremost of the Kuru princes lay down with heads towards the south. And Kunti laid herself down along the line of their heads, and Krishna along that of their feet. And Krishna, though she lay with the sons of Pandu on that bed of kusa grass along the line of their feet, as if she were their nether pillow, grieved not in her heart nor thought disrespectfully of those bulls amongst the Kurus. Then those heroes began to converse with one another. And the conversations of those princes, each worthy to lead an army, was exceedingly interesting. They being upon celestial cars and weapons and elephants, and swords and arrows, and battle axes. And the son of the Panchala king listened, from his place of concealment, unto all they said. And all those who were with him beheld Krishna in that state. When morning came, the prince Dristadhyumna set out from his place of concealment with great haste in order to report to Drupada in detail all that had happened at the potter's abode and all that he had heard those heroes speak amongst themselves during the night. The king of Panchala had been sad because he knew not the Pandavas as those who had taken away his daughter. And the illustrious monarch asked Dristadhyumna on his return, O, where hath Krishna gone? Who hath taken her away? Hath any Sudra or anybody of mean descent, or hath a tribute-paying Vaishya by taking my daughter away, placed his dirty foot on my head? O son, hath that wreath of flowers been thrown away on a graveyard? Hath any Kshatriya of high birth, or any one of the superior order, Brahmana, obtained my daughter? Hath any one of mean descent, by having one Krishna, placed his left foot on my head? I would not, O son, grieve but feel greatly happy, if my daughter hath been united with Parth, that foremost of men. O thou exalted one, tell me truly who hath won my daughter today? Oh, are the sons of that foremost of Kurus. Vishitravirya's son alive? Was it Parth, Arjuna, that took up the bow and shot the mark?